Hello, hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Mindminx show. I am your favorite Mindminx, and I am live via Zoom with the one and only Diane Morton-Gattullo. Hello, Diane. How are you?
How are you? It's
I'm good.
really so nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, so we've been in talks for quite a while, and I just want to make sure I even wrote it down. I want to give a shout out to my producer, Kaz Akbar, who made that introduction. So I just want to thank Kaz very much for doing this.
He is such a sweetheart, really, such a nice person.
I can attest to that. Like from day one, before I had any kind of an inkling of what I want to do, he had a vision. So
I've known him for a few years now. Oh my God, probably more than that. I think probably about 8 years now. And he's just been such a nice person and a lot of fun, and really rolls with the whole experience. He's come to a couple of parties that, you know, he just looked around and said, "My God, where am I?" But go with it, and just, you know, he didn't like skip a beat or act like where am I and why are all these people crazy? But
so he didn't look like a tourist?
Yes, exactly. He didn't act that way, and he was comfortable, and you know what? He had a great time. He came to one of my birthday parties, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was really close to like the outside world in this little place that you would never know about. You would never even know what it was from the outside. And he walked in, he was like, "Holy cow, what the hell is this?" But he was
nice.
Yeah, he rolled with it. He had a great time. And I was really so happy to see him there. You know, he enjoyed himself a good deal, and he didn't stare at the people where they would start questioning, you know, like, who are you and why are you here? Yeah. So he was definitely not a tourist. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to let everyone know that the reason that we are Zoom today, both of us, is because Diane is very much a supporter of being very safe during this time. And you said that you have a 90-year-old mother-in-law that you want to make sure that you keep safe. So
we can't kill Nana. Okay. We cannot kill Nana. My mother-in-law is 90 and she's in great shape, and we're all vaccinated, my whole family. And I wear a mask and all the rest of that. But I just can't put myself in the position that like we're gonna kill Nana, because I would never be forgiven. She is probably the most beloved of any family member in the entire. Yes, yeah. Nobody would.
No,
ever.
I definitely understand that, and that's why I decided. And this is actually a first, so we are doing Zoom, both of us, for the first time ever on my show. So I just wanted to let everybody know why we're doing that, and that we're just doing our part to get this pandemic in our history as opposed to in our present.
We have to kick it down the curb so that we can go back to our life.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, so let's talk about that life. So the reason why I asked Diane to be a guest is because she has quite an interesting background. The stories, all right, so you are the epitome of the person who had all of these experiences and made it into an amazing story that was published. So this is your book. I'm sorry, can we see it okay? I see the leg. This life of ours is from a woman's perspective, living the life. And I want you to explain. I want to make sure that it's done justice. What is the life?
So it's the first book in a series, and the others are done. I just never published them. And the whole thing about putting out the book, as you know, one of my close friends was Big Ange from Mob Wives. So Angela had this great experience on Mob Wives, and although that's not for me, I love all the girls on the show. I love Jennifer, the producer. It was wonderful for Angela, but I'm just like, that's not, you know, my thing. So I said, Angela, our stories, we were a group of 12 girls who were all bartenders. One girl was a bartender and a limo driver. So she had a whole different,
wow.
Yeah, she was like a limo driver for the Rolling Stones and stuff like that. but our experiences were kind of wild and on a different plane than the way Mob Wives went. That was a different type of storyline. And I said, our stories are phenomenal because every night was an adventure. So I think that maybe we should start to, maybe put something down. So I wrote out the treatments for several books, and then that book, and then Angela got sick. And during the experience of the up and down roller coaster ride, I finished the book, and then she had passed on, and I didn't feel that it would be fun to put the book out. So I waited and I sat on the book, because originally it was Angela was going to come and hang out with me, because I always went to her appearances. So if anybody ever went to go see Angela at, any meet and greet or signings or book signings or wine signings, whatever, I was always there taking pictures. So people would queue up, I would take their camera, take pictures, keep it moving, whatever. And there was all of her friends surrounded her and supported her in making this whole, experience fast, fun, and productive for her.
Okay.
And Angela said, I'm going to do that with you. I'm going to do that with you, Diane.
Oh my God, I can hear her voice in my head.
And then she passed on, and I felt, you know what, this isn't fun. Like, I would not have the same experience. And so I waited for a little while, and then I put the book out, about a year after she passed on. And the other books, I'm kind of, I'm sitting on them for no reason other than, like, I want that same feeling again to put them out, because I'm not in a rush on anything. Although people do, contact me all the time. And they're like, what happened? Where's the next story? I'm like, I have to feel Angela's, experience again to turn around and say, yeah, put out the next book. Because during the whole, beginning tour of the book, I always felt her with me. And it was always sort of like this fun thing. I have a pair of rosary beads that a psychic gave me, who told me things that nobody would know about our experiences in our lives. And she said, I have these rosary beads, and I just want you to carry them with you. So even when I sit at in a parking spot, certain times those rosary beads will start to move. And I always joke around that Angela's dancing, she's dancing at whatever the experience that I'm going to have, or I just came back from. So I need those rosary beads to dance a little bit, and then I'll put out, all the rest of the books.
There you go. I love that. And actually beforehand, we were speaking about Big Ange, and you brought down a pair of her favorite dancing shoes.
So when she passed on, I mean, people, when they have a family member or a loved one or whatever, they always want a memento. So for me, I didn't want a memento of any financial significance, because that's just not my thing. She has wonderful children. She has got a wonderful family, and anything that has a monetary value should belong to her children. Right. So I was with her daughter in her house, and I was helping her kind of clean up, and she had a minor flood in the house, and she had a bag of shoes. And I saw these shoes popping out of the bag. I said, what are you doing? And she said, they got destroyed in the flood. She said, I'm going to throw them out. I'm like, listen, those shoes mean something to me. Can I have them? She's like, you could have whatever you want. Her daughter, Rocky, is just the salt of the earth. She was trying to, you want a handbag, you want a scarf, you want something. I'm like, I want nothing. I want those shoes you were going to throw out, because I remember being with your mom a million times with her in these shoes. So they are a little beat, but I got to tell you, the clubs that we went to and the dancing, and her being able to walk in heels, that these were small for her. Angela wore like phenomenal heels. These are tiny heels, and she would make fun of mine. And I'm like, I can't walk in heels anymore. Like, forget it. Those days are over for me. She would be like, no, you got to wear them. Put on my shoe. I'm like, I don't even have the same size shoe. And she would like stuff the toes, put them on, the whole 9 yards. But so these are Angela's shoes, and they sit up on my bookshelf, and I look at them, and they just kind of remind me of like so much fun. The absolute
If they make you smile, then they are 100% worth it.
Yeah, these are irreplaceable to me. These are $1 million present for sure.
I love that. Now, if anyone isn't familiar, I just want to talk. So Big Andrea Murphy was a mob wife on the show Mob Wives.
Yes.
And that was, oh my gosh, it's years already.
Yes. It was an E21 series, a reality series, that brought a group of girls together, and they, talked about and opened up the world of their internal families and things like that. The reality of a lot of those girls, I mean, and I love them all. I mean, but we were older than them. So, for instance, Renee on the show, her aunt is one of our friends. So,
okay.
Yeah. So, but it's not a big deal when you get older. The age difference isn't so vast anymore.
Okay.
But when you're younger and you're 25 and someone is 16, that's a big age difference. We were doing different things when they were, in high school. And it's been a phenomenal ride to see a lot of those girls. One of them, I didn't know on a personal level. I just knew who she was. The other ones I knew all personally. And it was really a great experience to see them all grow up and get to go on a show. And the show really changed all of their lives. It was, a positive experience. And some of them have gone on to other projects and things like that, but they've all grown exponentially through this whole experience. Mob Wives, to me, was a lot of fun, an awful lot of fun.
Now,
it was fun in the background.
It was funny.
Yeah, just watching it. I used to take a lot of videos behind the scenes, and I would say, Angela, when we're old, we're going to look at these and go, I can't believe this shit happened. How did this happen? No matter where we went, she did appearances everywhere, but she wanted to, she was a big fan of Law and Order, and in particular loved Ice-T. So I have a connection with Law and Order, and I got her a guest spot on one of the episodes.
Nice.
So she had to, so we were in Queens, and she had to drive a convertible BMW, and she gets pulled over, and they give her a ticket, and she says, I'm Big Ange, I don't pay. And rips up the ticket, throws it out the window, and continues driving. Well, what should have been like, it was literally like a 3-second, spot on the episode. And what should it take? Maybe 3 hours, because, it's union. Everything's got a break or whatever. It took the whole day, because once we pulled up, and it was just her lawyer, her manager, and myself. Once we pulled up, people were screaming. They were hanging out of the windows. I mean, just screaming for her. So Ice-T comes out, and he turns around and he goes, they normally scream for me. They're screaming for you. She's like, don't worry about it. You're still cuter. And it was just, they were so playful. Everybody was so nice to her. And afterwards, she went into the commissary and, she hung out with everybody. And then we went to a couple of the stores in the bodegas, and we bought things all over in every store we could find. And we just kind of gave it out to everybody. And she had so much fun going in and buying crap t-shirts just so that she could sign them and give them to everybody. And people were lined up all over the streets in Queens. It was an all-day event. And her manager had other things going on that afternoon, but she was like, this is what it's like to be with Angela. Let's roll.
Go with the flow. Yeah, go with the flow. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And do you feel that the show depicted an accurate picture?
For me, I felt that it was their story, their individual stories to tell. So however they decided to tell their story was up to them. And I'm glad that they, financially benefited from telling it in their way. Mm-hmm. I think it's very, very hard to be on a reality show where you live some of your most tragic and sad moments, live on air, where people will see that. And I felt very sorry for, 2 of the girls who had really tough experiences and they had to put it on camera. I felt really sorry for them, because some things are really private and they should stay within your own world and your own group. But when you're on a show like that, you really don't have a choice, and that invites all the trolls, to say negative things, or always. People who are very positive. And the show resonated all over the world. I mean, you knew Angela made it on the first night, on the first episode. But when we were watching, I can't remember who the talk show host was, but Anthony Hopkins came on, and there he is mimicking Angela. And we looked at each other. We were like, oh my God.
Wow.
He said, what did you watch on television? Whoever the host was. And he said, I love this Big Ange. I just love her. And we looked at each other. We spit out whatever we were drinking. Did Sir Anthony Hopkins just say your name? Like, wow,
Wow.
that's a huge deal. Then
Well, she
like,
definitely
yeah,
had a larger than life personality, and
she was like that at home. She really was. Yeah, on screen, Angela was probably, and I don't want this to be an Angela interview, but I just feel I want everybody to know that Angela was probably one of the kindest, one of the nicest, one of the most generous, and one of the most loving and loyal friends and people. I mean, her wake was a testament to her life. And I joke around that Angela would have loved her wake. She would have loved everything about her wake.
Good.
Everything, like paparazzi being lined up across the street, people waiting for hours outside the fans to come in between the two sessions, everything. So I mean, I kept going outside with one of her sisters, and we were giving out lotto tickets to people online and bottles of water, because we were just so grateful that they came to pay their respects to her. But she would have loved everything about that. And I think that she looks down and loves all of the aftermath of the experience too, because it still lives on.
And it definitely does live on in your book, because you made your dedication to her. And
Yeah.
I think that was so beautiful.
Thank you.
Because a lot of these memories that you created, and I do want to point out, it is a fictitious book.
Nobody's ever going to know who's who unless you were one of the 12.
Ooh.
That's the thing. And so now the group of 12, some have passed on. So the second book is going to be dedicated to one of our other girlfriends, Blonde Linda, who recently passed of COVID. And I think she and Angela knew each other first. I met them when I was 18. So I'm like the last of the 12 in. And I think Linda was the first of the 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So she will be the second book will be dedicated to Linda, to her life and her memory.
All right, so let's get into it. So I started reading this, and this again is not for the faint of heart. Like, this is, this was, wow. There aren't some textbooks that are this. So the memories that are in here, and I told you this when I started reading it, I was like, I just put a big smile on my face, because some of the, right off the bat, you talked about the non-negotiables, and those were just words that I was brought up to live by. And it's just nice to see them in this day and age be like, point blank. There's no missing. It's not somewhere in the middle under, subtype. No, this is like the first chapter, the non-negotiables. And I love them. So I wanted to, not because I know you guys need to go get your own copy and read this, because it is a phenomenal book. But these are the top 10 most important things to remember. Live for the moment. Don't open your mouth. Love that one. Save your money. Don't cheat. Don't steal. This is my favorite. Look hot, stay hot, and most of all, feel hot. I love that one. This is what reminds me of my dad. Party like a rock star, tip like a mobster, and dress to impress. This reminds me of my dad.
Most people don't do those things, No. I have to say, our generation of going out, we were never of the mindset that we would go out and everything was free. But it did happen that everything was pretty much free for us. And a lot of it is club courtesy. When you're a bartender, you receive club courtesy. So although I'm well known in Brooklyn for the places I worked in, outside of that, everybody kind of knows me from the Limelight. And so when you worked for an iconic club like the Limelight, I would walk into another club and it'd be like, yeah, she's the girl from the Limelight. Come right in. So you didn't wait online. We didn't wait online anyway. That was part of that backstory, like the book type of thing. But being a bartender gave us the ability to be more known in circles that would not necessarily know who we were. The street guys and stuff like that gave us the ability to not wait online and to be treated extra special, but it kind of went hand in glove, all of that. And the lines were very blurred, walking into certain places, they would be like, oh, Limelight, no, that's such and such as, whatever. And be like, oh, okay, whatever. As long as we could turn around, go in, have a good time. And we drank very expensive things. And so I'm a Rosé Cristal girl. And at that time, the bottles were $2.50 a bottle. And I have no problems buying my own bottles and tipping $100 a bottle. And that was it. I made the money as a bartender, and somebody served me is going to make it the same way. A lot of girls would be coming into a club and they would stand there and like fiddle waiting for a guy to buy them a drink and then walk away so they could find another victim to buy them a drink. And they never once tipped. I hate that. That's never been my thing. I don't want to be associated with that. I pay my own way. So you're never going to come over to me and turn around and be like, I bought you a $250 bottle. I want something out of you. Be like, I have to beat you with a stick if you even come near me like that, you know?
And I'm sure you meant it literally too.
Yes, very literally. But you know, the whole non-negotiables, to me, I used to see, you know, husbands and wives come in, especially like the older ones. They would come in and you would babysit the wife on one night, and then you would babysit the girlfriend on the other night, and never said a word. And the wives would be, some of them would be blind and not, you know, acknowledge that that's what their life was about. But quite frankly, they knew when they married into it what they were going to experience. And others would be so upset. So the moment the husband would walk away to talk to somebody, because they would come in groups, you know, and the wives would all just beeline and stare at me, and they would stare me in the eyes. And they'd be like, I know you since you're a little girl. It's my husband cheating on me. I'm sorry, but you allowed yourself to look like your husband's grandma. You went from a hot young girl to I don't know what, and now you're wearing very matronly looking clothes, and your husband's out there and you look like his mom. So you're seriously going to ask me if your husband's cheating on you? Come on. If you don't keep yourself up and you don't like what you see in the mirror, why would you think somebody else will like what you see in the mirror? And you don't dress to make your husband chase you. You dress to make yourself feel good.
Yep.
And when you feel good, everybody wants to be around you.
That's what I live by. I always say, if I don't like it, the whole world could say, Sally, that looks great on you. If I don't like it, it does not matter.
I have friends who are single, and I'm married, and they'll turn around and I can't meet anybody. I'm like, I meet somebody in the supermarket. I could meet somebody walking outside. Like, I meet people all the time. And I always turn those experiences into something really funny when I get hit on. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I'm punished. I'm married. I can't be, but I have a friend. So nice. Hang on a second. Give me your number. Let's call one of my friends. I'll FaceTime them right now. Let's see if the two of you connect.
Nice.
I do that all the time. I'm not going to let somebody go. And I think it's very flattering, because someday no one is ever going to ask me. And then I know I'm old and it's over. Aww. You know, but at least I have my great memories. You know, I've had the car accidents where people were honking and trying to pick me up and hit a car, you know, and I laugh about that. Yeah. So I'm really good with like the new generation being hot and beautiful. And like, I give them all the credit, because I remember having fun with those experiences as well. So I look at the wives, I go, why can't you remember how you got your husband? How much fun you used to have that created that energy that your husband would chase you and even notice you. Or maybe you noticed him. You got to look good. And 9 out of 10 times they don't. They age poorly, they dress badly, and they let, you know, the world knock them down to a point that they're almost unrecognizable from their original selves, you know, and then they become bitter and nasty.
Right.
So to me, that's terrible. You have to, don't talk out of school. Don't ask stupid questions. Don't be a thief. Because if you're a thief, everybody knows you're a thief. You may think you're slick, but you're totally a thief, and everybody will talk about you. You have absolutely no respect, you know. And if you're gonna, you know, throw hands, make sure you can. Make sure it's, you know, for a real reason. Like, don't just be stupid about it.
Make sure you actually have a bite when you're barking.
Yes, and don't make your friends do the, you know.
Oh yeah, the fighting for you.
Yes. But, you know, back in the day in Brooklyn with all of the clubs and stuff like that, and I talk about it. In the book, I talk about, you know, I was a big fighter back in the day. And I had a really close friend of mine who used to always say, please keep a low profile, especially when I was with him. And he and I would have dinner once a week. And he was an unusual fellow, and it was strictly platonic. We were really, really close. And I mean, I feel sorry now. He's doing, you know, I think like triple life or something like that.
Oh, wow.
But he would say, you know, keep a low profile. Like, you know, we just have to. And we would walk into this one particular club, and I would be in there 5 minutes, and there would be a brawl, and he would always come over to me and go, any more, conspicuous or obvious, you would be on the cover of a milk carton. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's not me, it's them. Oh. Yeah.
So, and well, you talk about that, that let me repeat it. Walk with an air of self-confidence. You obviously exuded that to the point of it, you are the epitome of those words. So
I feel if you are insecure, and I know there are people who are there, and I know everybody has some sort of insecurities, but if you let that turn around and take over your life, you really don't live. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I've probably lived 10 lives I'm 57. I've lived 10 lives in 57, and I enjoyed every moment of it. And if you're really insecure and you let that eat you, you become too afraid to actually experience life. And then you're really missing out. Then why are you here? It's a sad experience, and nobody should live like that. Everybody should have a good time.
Well, I wish I had learned that earlier. I'm not even I'm exaggerating. When I had that epiphany, when I had that, that soul mystical realization, everything changed. Everything.
It changes your life. I mean, I think one of the negotiables I should have added was trust almost no one, because
you talked about it.
But in a way, that sometimes people are so trusting and they take everything for face value. You cannot take anything for face value. And if you're insecure, you tend to listen to that part and be like, okay, I'm going to believe this. No. You have to have your core group that keeps you grounded. Mm-hmm. And you have to turn around and know this is not what they're telling me is not real. And you can't believe the hype. You cannot believe the press, basically. Like some celebrities, when they start out, they look like nice, normal people. And then you find out, that they're crazies afterwards. And it's like, stop it. What they wrote about you is not who you really are. Just, be careful with that stuff. So I think that inhibits you from having a really full life experience, and a lot of guys are bullshitters. They'll say anything to get what they want.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And you cannot believe any of them. Even with some of the guys you grow up with, you have to turn around and go, like, let's take a step back.
That's not what I saw yesterday.
Yes.
But speaking of friends, so your number 9 non-negotiable is be loyal to your friends, but don't allow them to walk all over you. Otherwise, they'll confuse kindness with weakness. I feel like I've run into a lot of that in my life. I try to do everything as kind-heartedly as possible, and I'm definitely encountering that people think that I'm weak because of it. And then when I blow up, they're like, "Where is that coming from?" What do you mean? Where is it coming from?
I'm a collector of souls. So I have different groups of friends, and of course they all know each other. Doesn't mean that they're friends with each other. They're friendly with one another when they're in a public setting, in a group setting and stuff like that. So whatever club I would go to, I would become friendly, with one or two people, and I would kind of collect their soul. And for instance, in the Limelight, there was a cocktail waitress there, and the girl busted her ass, and she really needed the money that she was working for. And I don't know, she went to tip me out, and I looked at the amount of money. I'm like, what is this? So she said, no, I'm not stealing. This is what I made. I said, no. Seriously? That's what you made as a cocktail waitress in the Limelight? 3,000, 3,500 people, here? And this is all you made? I'm like, we need to do a full comprehensive training lesson. So I became very good friends with her. And, she changed a little bit of her looks. She became a little bit more savvy and aggressive on how you go about hustling drinks and stuff like that. And I taught her how to bartend. So, I took her with me to other places, and she went to bartending, and that paid for her to go to college. When she wanted to buy a car, I called the next boyfriend who owned a car dealership, and I'm like, you're going to hold the note. You're going to give her a car. She's going to pay you every week. It's going to be the cheapest base model car there is, and you're going to do the right thing by her. And he was like, I am. I'm like, yes, you are. He did. And she would go, good as gold, once a week, and she would make her payment. You know, I think it had rolled up, cranked up windows. Like, that's how bare basic this car was, you know. And then when she went to college, she used the car to go to school. And I would get up in the morning after working all night, and I would go and sit in the car, because back in New York, if you sat at a pump with a person, they couldn't ticket you and they couldn't tow you. So I would actually go to sleep in the car because she couldn't afford to pay to park her car. And so we did this all the time. And then she would bring me back and I would go home, you know, or whatever. And I gave her a set of keys to my apartment. And I knew that she came from a cold water flat. And when I would leave to go to work, she would sneak her mom in, and her mom would shower in my apartment and kept my apartment immaculate. Never, I mean, she even bought her own shampoo. Like, she used nothing of mine. Do I care? No. She was the most grateful out of them all. On the other hand, I had another friend who was really close, and I kind of did the same thing. Like, I found out that she didn't even have a winter coat. So I bought her a winter coat, then I taught her how to bartend, and I got her all these jobs and blah, blah, blah. And then I had 2 cars and she had no car. So you could take one of my cars. I pay the insurance, just put the gas in. You know, it's registered under me. Now I start getting tickets.
Oh.
Yeah, not 1, not 2, thousands. And
wow.
yeah, and then I find out you lost my license plate, never even noticed, could care less. And, you know, basically I had to turn around and pay for all of this, you know, because my registration is suspended. My driver's license is suspended. I was on the books everywhere. Everywhere I worked, I put myself on the books. I played by the rules. So, like, you can't say anything to me. With that girl, I learned the valuable lesson, because that girl turned around and did so many devious things that you should never do to somebody who, I treated her like, she's only a few years younger than me, but I was more like a mom to her than anything else. She never paid for a meal, never paid for a drink. Her clothes were basically my clothes that she would borrow. She'd buy like 2 or 3 pieces, and my wardrobe was the everything. You know, she got a free ride in life on everything, including meeting guys. And I got paid back with a $6,000, you know, bill with my car, and, you know, several other things afterwards that were just so upsetting that I was just like, I can't talk to you anymore. You should have respected the things that I've done for you, instead of me hearing somebody talk to you on a phone, keep the phone out, and you turning around and saying, she's jealous of me. All of her boyfriends always wanted me. They never wanted her. I could care less.
Wow.
It doesn't. I have to hear you say this. This is how you thank me for everything I've ever done for you? No, thanks. Don't need friends. Not like you. So yeah, they take that trust and they turn it into a weakness, because they never think you're ever going to say enough.
No.
You're cut off. You're cut off financially, you're cut off emotionally, and you're cut off socially. You're done.
And that experience didn't sour you, like, to be able to trust people? Like, how?
No, because I'm still a collector of souls. I've always felt that I've been very, very blessed. I've had an unusually beautiful life. I've gone through so many heartaches, but I don't ever see the bottom of the glass. For me, the glass is always half full, and I'm always striving for the top of the glass. So if I see somebody who struggles, what kind of person am I if I don't turn around and try to help them? And nobody thinks of people in that life, or being in the club business or the bar business, or being surrounded by street guys and, you know, definitely 80s Brooklyn lifestyle, that you would be like that. But they are. Those guys are like that. I'm like that. The true people who were raised a certain way are very much like that. You will help somebody who is struggling, as long as that person is grateful. And I don't mean you have to show your gratitude by, like, you know, carrying me piggyback or cleaning my house. No, just be a decent human being and turn around and do it to somebody else who really needs it. You know,
Pay it forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I love that, because I know that so many people would I don't know. For me, I would feel like, I don't know, can I trust my own judgment on the next person I felt that I should be that close to? You know what I mean?
You know, payback's a bitch. And it's not that I would never trust my judgment again, but to see somebody socially ostracized is pretty much the ultimate payback. because they lose friends. They lose the ability to be acknowledged when they're walking into a place. They lose everything. You know, I mean, I've had very few negative experiences, but the few have been so, you know, bad and like monetarily insane that people wonder and they go, oh my God, how could they still be walking? You know, like, and I think the ultimate payback is never to hit somebody with the bat, but to watch them walk into a place where everybody turns their back. And so now you are a pariah.
So now that brings me to my next is, okay, I thought it was just me, but now that you just said that, did they become the pariah for what it is that how they wronged you and everyone else in your crew was like, yeah, no, sorry, this is how we show our loyalty? Or
Yes.
is it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
People make me feel crazy when I'm like, no. If I was wrong, then you're that loyal to me, then that wrong, you should feel like it was done to you as well. And I'm not talking about, you know,
It gets a little
to my
way.
shoes. Yeah.
So let's say, for instance, out of the 12, each 12 of us had other friends. You know, so if I had a problem with, and really, I would never wind up doing that, but I'm unusual in the group because they all had friends who would do stuff like that. I would never turn around and say, you know, just because I don't get along with, you know, person A, I don't want you to talk to them anymore because you're friends with them too. But if this is somebody who's not part of our inner circle or your other core group of friends, and we're out and somebody's, you know, disrespectful or somebody's, you know, blatantly horrible to one of us, or no, then collectively you wall them out. That person does not exist anymore. And, you know, whatever happens to them. You're on your own. Yeah, so I expect loyalty, and we have loyalty amongst each other. We can fight with each other. And there are times, you know, out of 12 girls, you know, like 2 will click off and be best friends right now. And then a couple of years later, 2 others will become best friends, you know. But this is not the high school lunchroom table. You know, it doesn't matter. We're all collectively, you know, a group of good friends. And although I may not agree with everybody's choices or some of their actions, on the outside of the 12,
nobody would know.
Nobody would know. And I would never validate anybody else's negative comments about them.
I love that.
It's absolutely no. We're a collective group. On the inside, you could want to punch me in the face or I could want to punch you in the face. But on the outside, we would both wipe our bloody noses and go beat somebody else up for attacking one of us. And I
love that.
Yeah, that's the way it has to be.
It feels like it's almost romanticized, except I grew up around that. So it's just like, you know, damn, I'm missing that. And we definitely get that in the book. And I want to talk about it for a minute. So Danny, who is the main character, is this, you know, I know everything is fictitious, but is Danny you?
Danny is a collection. Listen, if you're one of the 12, you're going to know. And you're not one of those 12.
I'm not.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to keep guessing.
Yes, you can guess. But certain things are a little evident. So like I changed the names of certain clubs. One is Place Pastels that we all hung out in and absolutely, that was like the epicenter of our social life. And it was a phenomenon in Brooklyn that tourists from all over the place would come to go hang out in. And there were lines until 3:00 in the morning. And that was a big part of our social life, going there. And even though we went to all the clubs, that was a home base and stuff like that. And we had the best times. And you know, I sometimes talk to some of the people who work. Well, I'm friends with all the people who work there, but sometimes we talk about those experiences and I'm like, I think I should apologize, because I do remember like being like a pain in the ass, and they're like, no, it's all good, you know. But it was our playground, our backyard, and it's kind of like, you know, where we explored. But I also worked in Little Italy, and that was an adventure unto itself. And I loved the place I worked in Little Italy. It was probably one of my favorite places. It was small on a corner and had, I don't know why, glass windows from ceiling to floor. So we were like in a fishbowl on a corner across the street from a police station. But it was the most fun ever. I mean, like every night was a sick adventure from that place. It was crazy. And the guys in the neighborhood were amazing, you know, and they knew me since I was a child. So, you know, I kind of grew up, and as the old men would see me now as an adult, I think the first day I worked in this one place, so they were taking bets outside of the window, and no girl had ever worked in the capacity that I worked at in this place. You know, it was a new restaurant. So they were taking bets, and some guy lost, and he was just like freaking out, screaming, banging on the window. I go outside and he goes, "Are you really, you know, working here and doing X, Y, and Z?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I just lost $1,000 on you." I'm like, "Stupid you." He's like, "I can't believe this." But he was with me every single night. Every single night that I worked there, the guy would come. We had the best of the best. We had the best crowd of the little Italy guys who would come there. It didn't matter what family they were from. They would all come there. They would go eat. There were 3 main restaurants in Little Italy that they would all go to. And this was the place they would drink in, you know, before or after dinner. And they all had a great time. And other people who were a little bit more on the fringe, you know, would come to explore. And the girls, of course, wanted to come because that's where, you know, when you see 50 guys with crazy cars outside in sharkskin suits, the girls are going to come because they want to see what this is, you know, and all the rest of that. So it was crazy. I had one guy who owned a very well-known furniture place, and he was a master craftsman from Italy. And he decided that he loved me, and I had to reciprocate.
You had to.
I had to. And for me, you know, it's a fine line you walk. You can't insult somebody. You can't, because then the money dries up, because they're giving you exorbitant amounts of money to get your attention and to potentially get you to be their girlfriend for, you know, whatever. So, you know, listen, this is a true, you know, financial arrangement. I want your money, but I'm not willing to do, you know, I don't want to be a girlfriend. Things. Yeah, I don't want to date you. I got a boyfriend, or I don't want a boyfriend, or you're just not that person, you know. So you can't insult them. Well, this guy decided to be very bold, and he made me a bedroom set. And he dragged the headboard to the front of the restaurant. And he's standing there with the headboard, and he's singing to me in Italian. And I walk outside and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I made this for you. We're going to live happily ever after. I'm going to put you up in a beautiful apartment over here in Little Italy. And I'm going to make all of your furniture with these hands. And I said, "I love you as a friend. I cannot accept your bed, because your bed means you want me to be in your bed. So that's just not going to happen." And I don't know why somebody's calling me. Sorry.
That's okay.
I said, "I don't want to be in your bed, you know, but my dad bought my bed, so I can't accept your bed, because my father would want to know why I don't have, you know, his bed anymore." And the guy took it. He actually took it. And he was like, "I wouldn't want to get your father upset." I'm like, I can't believe this guy believed this, but he went with it. And he dragged the headboard back, and you should have seen the tourist's face standing there watching this guy with a queen size or king size headboard, all this ornamental hand carving stuff, singing to me, you know, in Italian, you know, on the street corner. And there I am, like, I can't. I'm like, whatever the bed costs, just give me the cash. I'm all good with that. Just give me the cash. It's all fun.
Love it.
Yeah.
So you also talk about Babe. Now, Babe.
Every girl loves Babe. Every girl falls in love with Babe. It's insane.
So but it's a persona. So you talk about the persona. There's an actual Babe in the book, but it's a whole package. Like,
yes. So Babe is the best and the worst. So I did an interview, and somebody was trying to get me to say like negative things, you know, and it was in the beginning of the Me Too movement and stuff like that. And they're like, "Were you ever, you know, abused, victimized, or, you know, treated badly?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. I was treated like a princess." You know, the few negative experiences I had were people who were not part of my world, who were on the fringe, but everybody treated me so well, so incredibly well. But, you know, it's all 6 degrees of separation when you're from Brooklyn. So you can turn around and tell me, my mother grew up in Brooklyn. Probably in 21 questions, I'm going to find somebody that we have a connection with. Nice. That your mother, you know, yep. And you couldn't turn around and be abusive to somebody that like you had that kind of connection to. It just didn't work out. Guys, totally different level. Guys would do that with each other because they had that macho clique. The girls, they would be, you know, from different areas. They would come, they would want to like try to find our guys. They would hunt our guys. And then you become a little bit more aggressive. But on the general level, it was like, nah, everybody's like 6 degrees of separation and this coolness. Like, oh, you're from Gravesend. Oh, you're from Red Hook. Oh, you're from Bay Ridge. Oh, we're all from Brooklyn. So we're kind of all family over here, you know?
Oh, I love that because it's just, I guess I'm definitely old school in that sense. I miss that. I miss, you know, not being able to be a part of that. And I wanted to ask you, do you think that the romance that is portrayed in the book, and like, and you have to be a fan of it. You have to, it's not, you know, it's not something that's going to appeal to everybody. But if you are a fan of that, and that's a horrible way of saying it. I don't want to say a fan of like the mafia or whatever, but what it stood for behind all of the violence or the whatever, you know, the money making portion of it was. Do you feel that romance, that like other stories like Goodfellas, that those are aligned views of it, or is it over dramatized?
It's funny because there's certain things. The scene in Goodfellas where Karen is told to go down the block, you know, go, you know, keep going to go get the free dresses or whatever.
Oh my God. Yep. Scary.
None of us would ever do anything like that. I would be like, you know, I don't want to curse on your show, but I'd be like, get the F out of here. I'm not walking down the block to go get a free dress. If you want me to have a free dress, you have the garbage bags dragged to me here and I'll go through it. Oof. Yeah, I'm never walking down the block for anything on a dark, deserted street to get dragged into a door. No. So I would see some of those things and go, that would never happen to us. The same way, like, you know, other girls we would meet. For instance, one girl was a waitress for me, and she called me up and said, I can't come to work. My boyfriend won't let me leave the apartment. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, he won't let me leave. I'm like, I'm coming right there. And I take one of my girlfriends with me, and I go to the apartment, and I look at the guy, go, she's not owned property. She needs to go to work. And you need to let her walk out the door because this is not cool. And he's like, no, I don't want her to work anymore. I don't want her to work in the clubs. Well, I didn't see the ring on her hand and I didn't hear her say yes. So she's got a choice. She either gets fired because I'm the one who hired her, or she comes to work and leaves now. And if she leaves with me now, she's never coming back to you. And the guy and I actually, he got a little confrontational with me. And I said, you can't hit me. You know that, right? You can't pick up your hands to me. And I'm like, because I have friends. And I'm a money maker. I make money in places. I'm the one who brings money. So people and I'm good. I take care of everybody. Nobody will ever get in trouble with me. I'm never going to let somebody leave whack. Nobody's going to be missing money. Nobody's going to have a life-altering experience with me. It's always going to be good. I'm going to make sure everybody's safe. And you don't think they're going to come back if you like touch a hair on me? Because then I can't make that kind of money for them. So where do you think this is going to go for you? And the guy backed off. I wound up taking the girl, and she wound up getting an apartment and breaking up with the guy. So, I mean, you know, there's just sort of like crazy types of things where I look at it like it happens, but those things didn't happen to us because we would never allow it. I'm not that girl that somebody's going to hit. Ever. No boyfriend, my husband, my father, no one's ever hit me. You know, and if you're going to hit me, you're going to, you know, I've had a lot of
fist tell me. Yeah,
I've had a lot of fist fights, but not on a romantic level where like I had a guy beat me up or slap me around. I can't go out. I can't do this. I can't spend money. I can't buy shoes. I can't do what I want. Never, ever would that ever happen to me.
Well, I love that aspect of your personality, and it definitely exudes in Danny's character, which is why I keep thinking that it's because there's one interaction that you talk about very early on between you and Babe, and how he like threw you in his trunk, and most girls would have been like, you know, sweating up a storm. You lit your cigarette and just sat back and waited, and it was hysterical. It's like, I can't believe you're smoking a cigarette in my trunk.
Putting them out. I have a friend of mine who most likely will see this this radio show. So his name is Anthony. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. So when the book came out and Anthony read it, he was crying, laughing. He goes, I used to put all my girlfriends in the trunk of the car. I go, I know, I remember you forgetting about them and coming in the club and going, oh my God, the girl's in the trunk of the car.
Oh my God.
For some reason, it was like a sign of, you know, I like you, you're mine, your property or whatever. And other girls would, you know, be freaked out and they'd be crying in the car. And that would give the guy a little bit of a chuckle, you know, and so they would be a little bit more aggressive. But the best way to deflate somebody's craziness is to just laugh at it and throw water on it. And so they have to strive to do something else to get you. Because obviously smoking, you know, in someone's car, putting the cigarettes out in somebody's car who is a car buff, who basically, you know, has like 6 people slaving over the car all day, waxing it, cleaning it, the whole 9 yards, would never want somebody to smoke and put it out in their carpet.
So you had me, Danny had me.
You're never going to turn around and like, you know, want to put me in the trunk of your car again, because I just ruined that for you.
He can't get top dollar for it when he sells it.
Yeah. It was like, oh, and that was before, you know, all trunks have an emergency.
Now.
Yeah, and they didn't have that back then, you know. And I remember thinking to myself, well, I guess if I have to exert myself, I could kick in the, you know, the back seats and like climb out of the car. But if I'm doing that, I'm going to be really pissed if I have to start kicking out, you know, seats.
I know. Okay, so you don't say what time of year it was, so you could have gotten all sweaty and messed up your hair. Like, I don't know if your hair is naturally just that nice, and it's like, this is like, you know, I
have such straight hair.
Mist.
No, I have such straight hair. I've spent my life on perms and body waves just to like walk out with, it'll look great, and then like after a week, my hair is like completely straight.
Down.
Yeah.
If water mists on my hair, it looks beautiful right now. My girl did a beautiful job, but
beautiful. Like you look beautiful.
Spritz a little water, let a little water wave by it, and it's like Frizz City. I have such curly hair.
No, I have such straight hair, but you know, I have to say I've been in the trunk of a car a few times because it was like a phenomenon that was popular at that point. You know, and I never experienced a bad hair day. You know, I just may have, if I ran out of cigarettes, then there would be a problem. Bad. Yeah. If there's no cigarettes and I've just got to like sit there in the trunk, oh, I'm pissed. By the time I get out, this is not going to be a happy experience for anybody around. Anybody.
Well, we've already been on, I can't see the clock that far, but already an hour. So I don't want to take up too much of your time because it is still Sunday. And I wanted to say thank you so much. But all of these little snippets that I've talked about are in here. And there's so many more. When you meet Phil, that's my favorite because you thought you had him pinched as a cop. He was not a cop.
I was friends with him up until he passed away, and he was very good to me. Listen, I got to say, everybody was really good to me. I was really good to them. It was a reciprocal thing, you know, and they were all really good to me. He was an awful lot of fun, but he was he was a tough guy. But I remember that exchange. You know, there are a couple exchanges, one with him where I really thought he was an undercover agent because they were everywhere. And it was in the middle of the winter. And I do recall a couple of the vans that were outside running all night in the different places that I worked at, where I'd go over with a tray of espresso and I would knock on the doors. And I'm like, listen, I know you're staking out me or the place or whatever, but here's some coffee because I don't want you to like freeze to death. And it would blow their cover. I would smile and they would look at me and go, because they weren't after me. They were after whoever they could see walking out of a place. But it was never me. You know, so I'm like, here's some coffee. I want you to be safe in the truck. And they'd be like, oh my God, I can't. And with Phil, he had a connection with a hotel. And at one point we had the feds who were staying, they rented out a whole floor. And they would come all the time. And they would come downstairs and, you know, they have the wristband watches and the gum-soled shoes, you know. And they would ask me for things, and I would always put on a pair of rubber gloves when I served them, and they would laugh. And then once they asked me to take a picture, and they wanted me to take a picture of them, but there was a mirror behind them, so they wanted the reflection. So I said no, and I wound up standing on top of the bar taking the picture like this, so there would be no reflection. And they were like, why? And I'm like, because it's a game, and you came in here, and I know what you are, and there's really no reason for you to bother me, but obviously you want to. So you're not getting my fingerprints on the glass, and you're not going to get my reflection in the picture, and you're not going to get any of that. Like, and that's just the way I rolled, you know. And it was just a thing going back and forth with the feds with all of that for the longest time, because they wanted to see the background. They wanted to see who would be in the reflection besides.
Gotcha.
Like that,
See?
you know.
Oh, wow.
And
So
I protected everybody around me. If, you know, I don't care if you take my picture means nothing. I'm nobody, except for the person who is now impersonating me on Instagram with fake accounts. I don't know how that's rolling for them, but I'm nobody. But you're hoping to get the person who's like standing next to me, or the memorial picture that's on the mirror behind me or something. You're not getting anything with me.
wow. See, that's interesting. Like that, those type of street smarts, that's not something you learn from a book. That's impressive, because I wouldn't even think that. Like, I think I would have maybe done the gloves because I don't want my prints on anything, but the fact that, you know, the picture, that's super smart. And I just want to segue, because you weren't just a bartender. You did have all these, but you are, I want to talk, I thought this was really cool. So when you wrote your book, so you are the president of Brooklyn Girl Press. Yes, am I saying that right?
Yes. And I used to be the director of operations for the Alliance of Guardian Angels, which is
Yes, I did write that.
group. And I worked for News America Marketing, a division of News Corp, which was I have my pension. That's one of the most proud moments of my life was that job. The largest marketing company in North America. I worked at Smith Barney in corporate finance. I just, you know, I've always kept that corporate thing during the day, because.
Oh, so this was all while.
Yes, I always did corporate during the day, always. And I did wild stuff at nighttime and on the weekends. And I just felt, you know, I needed the healthcare insurance. I needed the pensions. I needed that corporate world, and that I could still be whatever I wanted to be at nighttime. But the only way it would, conflict with my corporate world is when I would turn around and want to take a month off on vacation. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. I'll quit if you don't want me here anymore.
If you need me to,
Yeah. I did a lot of vacations, because we went away like every 3 to 6 months, you know, on an island, all the girls. And, you know, we had a great time, and I was definitely not giving that up. I could care less. There was enough jobs for me to get during the day. Somebody will always hire me. I'm not giving up my vacations.
I love that confidence. I love it. Well, okay, everybody, I've just only scratched literally the surface, the tip of the iceberg of the stories that are in here. So I can't recommend this enough. It is called This Life of Ours by Diane Morton-Gattullo. And it is available. I saw it on Amazon.
Yes, it's available on Amazon. The series is called Fairy Tales of Mob Bartenders. And I don't know, maybe we'll see the Rosary Beads with Angela dancing soon for me to put out the other books.
Well, we definitely spoke about her today, so I'm sure she'll at least let you know that she heard.
Yes.
So Diane, thank you so much for your time today. Everybody, that's it for today. So I just want to say thanks for the first Zoom episode of the Mindminx show.
Thank you for having me as a guest. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the fact that you and your engineer really jumped through hoops to do a Zoom, you know, to make me comfortable, and that's just a testament to what a nice person you are.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, and the technical difficulties she's talking about is that we sounded like chipmunks for the first half.
No chipmunk now.
No.
That's my engineer, so thank you very much. All right, so everyone, it is a brand new week. So go own it. And don't forget to mind your favorite minx and join us next time. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.